The Asian American Pacific Islander Nurses Association of Nevada presents Healthy Mondays with Apina of Nevada. Start the week healthy and right with interesting conversations on living a healthy lifestyle. And now, your Healthy Mondays host, Dr. Marife Aczon-Armstrong.
Aloha! Mabuhay! Good evening. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Naimbaga Sardam. Maayong gabi sa inyong tanan. I'm yours truly, Dr. Marife Aczon-Armstrong, founding president of the Asian American Pacific Islander Nurses Association of Nevada and professor in nursing at Roseman University of Health Sciences College of Nursing. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig sa aming programa at patuloy na pagtangkilik sa Healthy Mondays. We are now in the month of September. Narito na ang mga bear. Before you know it, Pasko na naman, and it will soon be Christmas. And tonight, we are featuring today's holiday, Labor Day. Labor Day is an annual celebration of workers and their achievements originated during one of the American labor history's most dismal chapters. In the late 1800s, at the height of the Industrial Revolution in the United States, the average American worked 12-hour days and 7-day weeks in order to survive a basic living. Despite the restrictions in some states, children as young as 5 or 6 toiled in mill factories and mines across the country, earning a fraction of their adult counterparts' wages. People of all ages, particularly the very poor and recent immigrants, often face extremely unsafe working conditions, with insufficient access to fresh air, sanitary facilities, and breaks. As manufacturing increasingly supplanted agriculture as the wellsprings of American employment, labor unions, which had first appeared in the late 18th century, grew more prominent and vocal, and they began organizing strikes and rallies to protest poor conditions and compel employers to negotiate hours and pay. In many of these events, strikes and allies turned violent during the time, including the infamous Haymaker Riot of 1886, in which several Chicago policemen and workers were killed. Others gave rise to long-standing traditions, and on September 5, 1882, 10,000 workers took unpaid time off to march from City Hall to Union Square in New York City, holding the first labor parade in the United States history. And all this time, I just know the first Monday of the month of September, we celebrate Labor Day, but didn't really realize or didn't really know and have a full understanding of how this holiday came about. The idea of working men's holiday celebrated on the first Monday in September caught on in other industrial centers across the country, and many states passed legislation recognizing it. Congress would not legalize the holiday until 12 years later, when a watershed moment in American labor history brought workers' rights squarely into the public's view. And then on May 11, 1894, employees of the Pullman Palace Car Company in Chicago went on strike to protest wage cuts and the firing of union representatives. In the wake of this massive unrest, and in an attempt to prepare ties with American workers, Congress passed an act making Labor Day a legal holiday in the District of Columbia and the territories. And on June 28, 1894, President Grover Cleveland signed it into law. So now, our kababayans and our listeners out there, Labor Day is still celebrated in cities and towns across the United States in parades, picnics, barbecues, fireworks, displays, and other public gatherings. And for many Americans, particularly children and young adults, it represents the end of the summer and the start of the back to school season. And by the way, September is also National Preparedness Month. Public health agencies use this annual observance to promote emergency preparedness and encourage community members to take action before, during, and after an emergency. And from an infectious disease outbreak to a natural disaster, Department of Health is always ready to respond to help address and maintain the safety of the people of Nevada. And thank you. And so we will reach out to the expert on this topic during this month of September. Meanwhile, I hope during this past weekend holiday that you have prepared yourself for a safe, healthy holiday, such as practicing food safety and shellfish safety to prevent foodborne illnesses, practice water safety if you swim, if you boat, kayak, or paddleboard, avoid insect bites and prevent mosquito-borne disease, and take precautions to prevent wildfires. And also know the latest on how to stay safe from COVID-19 and monkeypox virus. Well, we also have some safety features about the holiday, not only during Labor Day, because now we're going to have some holidays coming up, like Thanksgiving and, of course, Christmas. And each year, hundreds of people in the United States become ill, and some are hospitalized because the food they ate at a holiday meal, maybe it was handled or prepared in an unsafe way. So we encourage you to follow these food safety tips to protect you and your family. So instead of serving food, don't serve up a foodborne illness this holiday. So the first area we'll tackle is buying and preparing. So keep raw meats separate from other foods, especially fruit and vegetables, in your shopping cart and grocery bags. And raw meats that are wrapped for display, they often leak. So put meat into a plastic bag to prevent drips and that may contaminate other foods, like dripping of the blood sometimes when you are putting in what you have pulled out from the shelf. Always wash your hands before you begin to prepare food and after handling raw meats. Use warm water, soap, and paper towels. And remember that hands that look healthy and clean may become contaminated with millions of germs that we cannot see with our naked eyes. And inadequate hand washing is a leading cause of foodborne disease today. And keep your kitchen and utensils clean. Wash cutting boards, knives, and counterparts that come into contact with raw meat. Don't reuse washcloths after wiping countertops, especially after cleaning up raw meat juice. And thaw your meat, like turkey, in the refrigerator, the big full chunk of turkey. And frozen meat is easy to undercook. So cook food to a safe internal temperature and use of food thermometers to check. For example, turkey, chicken, and poultry, including stuffing, whole and ground meat, they have to be 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Whole cut like roast, steaks, chops, or beef food, pork, veal, and lamb is 145 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the internal temperature. So you have to use the food thermometer to check to know this. And then allow the meat to rest for 3 minutes after it's cooked before cutting or eating. Ground beef, pork, hamburger, or egg dishes has to be 160 degrees. Refrigerate your foods right away. Don't leave the food on the counter to cool down. Cut or divide solid food, like the big turkey, into smaller pieces and cooling containers without lids in the refrigerator. Wait until the food is cold, below 45 degrees Fahrenheit, before you put on the lid. Now, when we're serving, you have to refrigerate, reheat, or throw away perishable food after 2 hours at room temperature. And you need to keep track, remember. And think small. Arrange and serve food on several small plates instead of one large one. And keep the rest of the food either hot or cold. Keep the hot foods hot, maybe about 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and use warming trays or pots if possible. Have you been to all these Filipino parties where they have this warmer for each of the dishes? That's to prevent food poisoning and also to keep your foods hot. Uh, but then again, keep cold foods cold, below 41 degrees Fahrenheit. And nest dishes in bowls of ice if possible. Keep it in the refrigerator until it's ready to be served. And don't serve raw eggs mixed into drinks or food. You're just asking for trouble if you do that. So for as far as storing, refrigerate leftovers right away and reheat all leftovers to at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit before you serve it. So there's so many food safety that we can share with you today to keep yourself safe during the holiday. For food safety, a lot of times the causes of food poisoning is because you're not washing your hands thoroughly or not washing at all. So unwashed hands, undercooked meats, cross-contamination from raw meats to other foods, and eating unwashed fruits and vegetables can spread what we call in the medical field E. coli and salmonella, and these are germs, other germs at picnics and barbecues. So really what people call stomach flu or intestinal virus is often food poisoning. An illness can range from mild nausea to a serious condition requiring medical treatment and even hospitalization. Young children, older adults, and people with weakened immune systems are at high risk for severe illness. So please wash your hands to prevent illness. Wash hands with soap and water before and after preparing food, especially raw meats. Everyone should wash hands before eating to prevent passing germs to food. If you don't have running water because you're at a picnic or you're at a campsite, set up a makeshift hand wash station using a water container with those spigot and wash with hand soap. The last resort is if there's no water available, you can use waterless hand sanitizers or disposable hand wipes that you can use. And again, when you're cooking meats, it's good to marinate the foods in the refrigerator and not on the counter or outdoors. And don't use uncooked sauce. I do this too. I'm guilty with this. So do not use uncooked sauce that was used to marinate raw meat or poultry on cooked foods. If you do not want to use the leftover or throw away the leftover sauce, heat it until it comes to a boil. At least it kills the bacteria or germs that's slowly trying to grow in there. And always clean your grill and preheat your coals until they are lightly coated with ash. Thaw your frozen meat before grilling so it cooks evenly. And use the refrigerator for slow, safe thawing or thaw-sealed packages in cold water. You can also use the microwave, oven, or stove to thaw or partially cook the meat. If it is, then goes immediately on the grill. Cook the meat to a safe internal temperature. Can use a food thermometer to be sure and place the thermometer in the thickest part of the meat, avoiding bone, fat, or cartilage. And I'm going to repeat again the temperature. The recommended temperature for ground beef, pork, and hamburger patties is supposed to be at least 160 degrees Fahrenheit. For the whole or ground chicken or other poultry, 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot dogs and sausages, 165 degrees Fahrenheit. The whole cuts, such as steaks, chops, ribs, beef, pork, veal, and lamb, 145 degrees. And then again, we're repeating the instruction here, allow the meat to rest for 3 minutes before cutting or eating it. Although seafood lovers, fish and shellfish has to be at least 145 degrees Fahrenheit. And never place cooked food on a plate that previously held raw meat, poultry, seafoods, or eggs. And be sure to have plenty of clean utensils and platters to avoid cross-contaminations. So that's for our meat products. Now we go into fruits and vegetables and salad. Again, wash fruits and vegetables with running water before cooking or serving. Rub or scrub firm skin fruits and vegetables, such as melons, under running water. Bacteria and other germs can be transferred to the inside of the fruit or vegetable by cutting through it. So you have to wash it first. Sometimes I'm guilty again with this. I would cut it up and then wash it. So the recommendation is to be sure is to wash it first and then you cut it. Pasta and potato salads, my favorite, should be kept cold until serving. So contrary to common thought, mayonnaise is not the potential problem with these salads. This salad's other ingredients such as potatoes, eggs, pasta, and tuna are better at producing harmful bacteria. So they need to be chilled before combining to make the salad. Are you learning a lot yet? So I'm learning along the way. So cut your fruits, vegetables, and prepare salads, and it should be kept cold. So when served outdoors, consider placing the serving dish on ice or store it in a cooler after serving. Now, because we have to traveling from home into the campsite when you're camping during the holidays, bring only the amount of food you think you'll use and consider taking non-perishable foods and snacks that don't need to be kept refrigerated. And use an insulated cooler with plenty of ice or freezer packs placed around and on top of the food to keep it at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below. I remember I went to Hawaii and visited my family and friends for a month, and I wanted to bring some ahi poke, the raw fish dish favorite for my son. And I had to, I can't use dry ice. I have to get permission for that. So I used those gel ice where you have to put it in the freezer first and freeze it. And I bought the raw fish on the day off when I'm traveling, and then put them in those lunch bags and cover them with those chilled gel packs, and it worked. It was still cold when I got home. So fill the cooler up. A full cooler will maintain its cold temperatures longer than one that is partially filled. And then keep your drinks in a separate cooler from the food so then you won't contaminate. So the beverage cooler will be open frequently while the food cooler stays cold. And try not to just keep checking it and opening it. Keep the Again, keep the drink separate from the food, and if possible, transport the cooler in an air-conditioned part of your car rather than in a hot trunk. So keep the cooler out of the direct sunlight while traveling or at a picnic. So we're learning a lot here to prevent food poisoning. Now, the leftovers, don't let the food sit out. Don't let food sit out for more than 2 hours, especially on a hot day with 90 degrees or higher. So don't let food sit out for more than 1 hour if that's the case, because bacteria can multiply quickly on food left out in warm weather. Store leftovers in a refrigerator or in a cooler with plenty of ice or frozen packs. Leftover meat, poultry, seafood, and egg products should be the first foods you want to keep cold. Salads and cut or cooked fruits and vegetables should be kept cold as well. And throw away the perishable food that has been sitting out too long. And if the ice or gel packs in the cooler have melted and you can't keep the food cold, then throw the foods out. You'd rather throw it out than having the risk of having food poisoning. Some of the foods such as breads, rolls, chips, crackers, and cookies are okay to leave out, but should be covered for freshness. Condiments, like ketchup, mayonnaise, and mustard are acidic, so they are okay to leave out for a picnic of a barbecue. So after you enjoy eating, drinking, running around, barbecuing, volleyball, all that, then it's time to clean up. And this time you have to clean up properly, wash your utensils, your plates, your food preparation surfaces with hot soapy water, then rinse. And don't reuse plates or utensils that came into contact with raw meats until they are cleaned. If away from home, pack up dirty dishes to clean at home and bring a separate box or plastic bag to hold dishes that held raw meats. If camping or away from home for a longer period of time, bring some water and cleaning supplies if you wish to wash dishes for reuse. And again, clean the grill and place the trash in the covered garbage and recycle bins to prevent attracting pests such as yellow jackets, rodents, or other wildlife. Bear, I don't know how to tell you about that. That's another episode. So again, I hope you keep yourself safe and healthy during the holidays. And I hope that you learned some tips about keeping yourself safe from food poisoning during the holiday. Again, maraming salamat po sa inyong pagtangkilik sa aming programa at sana'y marami kayong natutunan sa episode namin tonight. And I hope you had a good Labor Day weekend. And until next time, remember, every Monday is a healthy Monday. Aloha!
The Asian American Pacific Islander Nurses Association of Nevada has just brought you Healthy Mondays with Apina of Nevada.